What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a little bit of an interesting concept to bring to you guys today for the Chicago Bulls. So basically, to explain this video in a nutshell, we're going to be looking at the major categories from stats in terms of maybe points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, turnovers per game, blocks per game, etc. And look at who I personally think will lead the Chicago Bulls in terms of all of these statistics. Some of them might be good, some of them might be bad, but regardless of that fact, we'll look at the major categories for the Chicago Bulls and determine who I think will lead the Chicago Bulls in these categories. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about whether or not you agree or disagree with some of the things that I'll be saying about the Chicago Bulls team. So, first and foremost, we'll get the bad one out of the way. I think this is the only real bad one that we will be discussing today. It's going to be turnovers per game. Now, I guess 2 seasons ago, we were a very, very big turnover team. I think we slowly started to reduce those turnover rates for the Chicago Bulls last year, but there was still some big players that sacrificed and gave up a lot of the ball. And unfortunately, it's going to be the way it's going to be considering how fast we want to play. We want to be an up-tempo team. We want to run out in transition. We want to play fast. We want to play passing lanes. And with that comes turnovers. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. You can't always be perfect. You can't always be clean. So in my opinion, there are a couple of guys you could put in this category, but I think the main guy that we'll probably be looking at is Zach LaVine. I think Dalen Terry could very much be in this category as well. Unfortunate as it is, he did have a lot of turnovers in the Summer League. That very well may translate to the NBA, but if it doesn't, I think Zach LaVine's the one to look at here, and I personally think Zach LaVine will lead the Chicago Bulls in turnovers per game. There's a room of improvement there. I think Zach LaVine knows it, and I think most Bulls fans know it as well. He needs to clean up his turnovers. Sometimes it's not even just the passing lanes or passing to the other team that allows Zach LaVine to get a turnover. Sometimes it's just dribbling off of his leg out of bounds, or sometimes it's just not paying attention and stuff like that. That's where I see the bulk of Zach LaVine's turnovers coming from. So he does need to improve in that way as well. And unfortunately, I still feel Zach LaVine will lead the league in terms of the Chicago Bulls in turnovers. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe that's the game that he's really worked on and improved on in the offseason, and maybe we will see a lot less turnovers. But as of right now, that's where I stand on Zach LaVine and the turnover issue. I'm going to go to three-point percentage next, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why I'm bringing up three-point percentage is because the NBA has developed into a three-point shooting league. And unfortunately, mid-rangers just ain't going to cut it that much anymore. Yes, mid-rangers are still alive in the NBA. DeMar DeRozan is a prime example of making the mid-range live on in terms of the NBA. And there are very few players that really use the mid-range effectively. And it does win games. But most of the time, this team or any team in the NBA will be prioritizing shooting the three ball and shooting at a high level. So who's going to lead the league, or who's going to lead the Chicago Bulls in terms of three-point percentage? Now, the difference is some players might take more shots and have good percentages. Some players might take a little bit less shots and have better percentages. I have 2 guys in mind in terms of this category. Lonzo Ball, obviously, an incredible shooting percentage last season for the Chicago Bulls. I think he was the only guy on this team to shoot over 40% from the three-point line. But I do have another one that I think could potentially be a little bit controversial, and his name is Patrick Williams, ladies and gentlemen. Now, difference between the two players, Lonzo Ball takes a lot more three-point shots than Patrick Williams, and he has a better percentage than Patrick Williams. I think there's no question in my mind that Lonzo Ball is the better three-point shooter, but if you're talking about percentage alone, I think Patrick Williams could very much be in the same category. He takes a lot of catch and shoots. He often makes a lot of catch and shoots, and what we've seen from the offseason, Patrick Williams has defined or redefined his three-point shot. It's a little bit quicker, and I think that will help Patrick Williams in the long run as well. So keep in mind, bear in mind, that's my personal opinion. I think Lonzo Ball will still lead the Chicago Bulls in three-point percentage, but if Patrick Williams is right behind him, I honestly would not be surprised. Yes, there's a lot of gaps in terms of who shoots more, but percentage-wise, I think they could be very close to each other. So bear that in mind in terms of next season. We're going to go into a very important one as well here, and that is blocks per game. We need rim protection, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to be that rim protector for the Chicago Bulls? I think we're going to be a team based more on steals. I think that's where we're going to get the bulk of our defensive stats. I think we've got a very good steals team. But unfortunately, the rim protection side of things, I still think there's a little bit left to be desired. I don't think we've really fulfilled what we needed to fulfill from, I guess, the blocks per game category. One is obviously Nikola Vucevic, the center of the Chicago Bulls, will be starting games for the Chicago Bulls. And I know many people might not want to say this, but recently he's had his best block season in a long time. He averaged 1 block per game for the Chicago Bulls. Last time he averaged a block per game or more was in 2019, I believe, or 2018. It's one of those years. So many people might not want to see that, but that's a very interesting stat for Nikola Vucevic. Also, obviously you got Andre Drummond off of the bench. I think he's good for a block per game as well. Maybe you could get a little bit more out of Andre Drummond depending on the situation, but I feel like he's around the same mark. But I still think, surprisingly enough, Nikola Vucevic will probably average the most blocks on the Chicago Bulls team. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. He's going to get a lot of minutes. He's the starting center for the Chicago Bulls for a reason. And even though he's not the best defensive center, I still think there's going to be somehow, some way he will average the most blocks on the Chicago Bulls. I know that might not make a lot of people happy. Again, maybe we make a trade down the line to get someone that will block shots for the Chicago Bulls. But based on this roster right now, I don't think we've really solved the blocking side of things. I think we got players that could deter shots. Sometimes blocking is not always necessary if you could deter shots, and I think that's what Andre Drummond will hopefully bring for this team. But in terms of actually blocking a shot, I'm going to back Nikola Vucevic to be, in my opinion, still leading the Chicago Bulls in that category. Steals per game is next, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got a couple of guys that can fit this category as well. Obviously, Lonzo Ball, defensive leader. In my opinion, he could be in this category as well. Probably one of the best defender on the Chicago Bulls for many people. Alex Caruso led the league in steals for the Chicago Bulls last year, so that's probably the easy one to go with as well. And I think Ayo Dosunmu might have a very good conversation in terms of stealing the ball as well. He had a couple of nice steals last season, and he's only going to get better, so maybe he'll get better steals-wise as well. But I'm going to pick Alex Caruso in this category as well. He did it off the bench, ladies and gentlemen, and if he didn't get injured, in terms of the number of steals he actually got, the number would have been much, much, much higher. But he was out for almost half the season, and yet he was still having very good numbers in terms of steals per game. So I'd absolutely back Alex Caruso to go and do it again. I think Lonzo Ball would be second in this race as well, but I would still back Alex Caruso to lead the Chicago Bulls in steals. We're going to go to rebounds per game next, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I think there's only two people that will fit this category well. Nikola Vucevic averaged 11 rebounds last year and has averaged a little bit more of over 11 rebounds for multiple years before that. So you expect him to still be in that conversation. And obviously Andre Drummond, for many people, is considered one of the best rebounders of all time. Even Andre Drummond himself said that he thinks he's better than Dennis Rodman as a rebounder. That's a very bold statement to make, but obviously he's a very good rebounder in his own right. I'm not gonna say I think he's better or worse. Maybe I'll make a video about that later. But he is a very good force to be reckoned with on the rebounding side of the ball. But I'm still gonna back Nikola Vucevic. Maybe it's crazy, but Nikola Vucevic, you got to understand, is going to get the most minutes on this team. And with more minutes, there's more opportunities to rebound. And I think Nikola Vucevic is one of the better defensive rebounding centers in the NBA. Yes, Andre Drummond is just as good. Andre Drummond will probably lead the Chicago Bulls in offensive rebounds. That's very important, and that's what he brings to the table. I think that's the biggest reason why we got him, because we lacked so many offensive rebounds, and that's what Andre Drummond will bring us. But rebounds as a whole, I think Nikola Vucevic will still be the guy to average the most rebounds on the Chicago Bulls. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move into the last two positions, ladies and gentlemen, the last two categories. Assist per game. I think this one is easily Lonzo Ball's, but just in case, we could talk about other guys as well. Just in case Lonzo Ball gets injured, I will throw Ayo Dosunmu's name in the category. I think he's also a guy that's going to get a fairly decent amount of assists. I know many people might not think he's a point guard, but I personally believe he could be a very good point guard in this league. And his pick and roll and his ability to find his man in the pick and roll is going to give him a lot of assists this season. DeMar DeRozan, the fact that you have the ball in your hands that much shows that you could potentially lead the Chicago Bulls in assists. He has the ball in his hands all the time, and he does like to make the right play here and there, which will give him a couple of assists for DeMar DeRozan. Zach LaVine averaged 4.5 assists. For many people that says we play a lot of isolation, which we do, they still managed to find a way to pass the ball very nicely. And Zach LaVine with 4.5 assists, incredible. And although he's technically a shooting guard, he's still finding ways to get his teammates open. I think all those guys I'd be considering to give this to. I wouldn't necessarily think about anybody else because Zach and DeMar have the ball in their hands a lot, and Lonzo Ball is the main point guard on this team. I would still give it to Lonzo Ball. At the end of the day, it's his role to really be the playmaker. I think it's the only guy that you could really trust in transition to throw the ball the way that he does. He also throws the most alley-oops on this team as well. I feel like a lot of his passes is when he grabs the ball and he goes and he sprints and it's transition. Lonzo's amazing at that, and he will get a lot of assists that way. So that's my personal opinion on the assist per game category. And points per game, there's only two I would really put in this category as well. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan averaged more points per game last season, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to back Zach LaVine to average more points per game next season for the Chicago Bulls. He got paid a really large sum of money, and I think he's going to live up to that contract. I honestly do. And in order for him to do that, I see him being the scorer of the Chicago Bulls. I see him being able to score in a variety of ways, from the three-point line to the free throw line to the mid-range to layups to posterizing dunks or normal dunks. And I think he's going to do it in a way that it's going to be hard to stop. I think he's also got efficiency in his name as well. And Zach LaVine, I personally believe, will lead the Chicago Bulls in points per game. Come back in a year's time. If I'm right, great. I called it from the very beginning. If I'm wrong, unfortunate, but DeMar DeRozan will obviously be second, obviously in this point of time. And if he's first, great. DeMar DeRozan had another incredible year, and hopefully will still be a step forward for the Chicago Bulls. And that's really all I'm going to talk about today. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. If I missed a category you'd like me to discuss, or if you agree or disagree with the players that I mentioned in today's video, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can make a part 2 of this video some point through the season. Have a wonderful and safe day, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.